Alright you guys, and welcome back to a brand new sculpting video. But pause, before we get any further, let me explain what I'm doing here. I recently wondered what your favorite donut-loving dad-bod yellow man would look like combined with the big green monster. So there you go, maybe you now got a slight idea why the sculpture ended up looking as it did. So in order to make the donut man look somewhat like the green man, I'll start by giving him a set of legs, demonstrating that he's no stranger to any steroid on the market. And since these giant quads will need some feet to stand on, I will not shy away from making them ginormous as well. And there's no foot complete without 5 toe-tipping toenails, so I made sure my whatever this is got some beautiful nails. And after I manicured them enough, I can connect them to my aforementioned big strong leg. And after some blending work, the only thing left to do is to add a lateral and medial bump representing the ankles. Whoops. And with my 2 legs complete, I can give him one hell of an underwear normal people would consider as a tent. I can then set his lower half aside, and after spanking the never disappointing aluminium foil, I can cover it in some clay and get started working on the back of this monster. Now I could name you every single muscle I'm adding here, but I'll use the uniting term back muscle or back keys so you don't get confused. So after adding back key 1 through 8, I'll add one final elongated back key on each side. Then it's a matter of blending them all in and refining some final details, which will tie my back together, and with a completed back I can now flip my back key colony and get started working on the front. From there I'll start out with a 6-pack Arnold Schwarzenegger could only dream of. Starting out by carving out a set of 6 bricks normal people would use to build a house for their families with. Now with my abs bricked up I can start working on the titties. Now to give Arnold some credit, he did have a ginormous chest, so I might use it for reference this time. Now next up are the obliques, where I'll try to stick with the theme of the sculpture by making them big and round. I'll then form some lats, using it as an excuse to touch his armpits. And now it seems about the right time to get back to his chest and add some deep cuts and striations. And I can now go ahead and bake the torso, so I won't squash any of the finer details. And since the current state of his arms looks rather skinny, I'll go ahead and change that by covering them in a nice layer of clay. Now with 2 curved wieners in my hands, I'll start poking out the 2 heads of the tricep, as well as all the other arm muscles, and then get started working on the hand. Said hand will get 5 big strong fingers, and in order to make the hand a bit more foldable, I'll carve out a couple wrinkles. And with the fingers slightly bent, I can then add the exposed knuckles. With my knuckles blended in, I can add some more final finger details, following the foot by giving them a couple of nails, trying to make them look worn and frequently used, since I'd assume this is what you get from skipping your nail studio appointments. Once they look disgusting enough, I can connect the hand to the rest of the arm, where I'm trying to go for a smooth transition. And once they look like they belong together, I can start adding some popping veins, since every sub 3 underwater -2 body fat percentage person has a couple of these. And after making sure the biceps vein was the biggest, I can replicate the whole process till I get a second arm. Now the next step is connecting the unbaked arms to the baked body. Now I ran into a bit of a problem here, since the unbaked super sculpty clay wouldn't stick to the baked model, so I had to bring a good old friend to the party. Said friend is named Cos Clay. With it being a lot stickier, it will hopefully hold on to the rest of the clay. So in order to find out, I started wrapping it around the entire arm, carefully blending it in to make sure it won't fall off. Now with what seems promising, I can start to build up his massive shoulders, adding muscles I didn't even know existed. And in order to stick with the shredded theme, I had to cover my shoulders in some deep cuts, which helped making them pop out more, and a smooth transition between the arms and chest. And we'll stick with the cast clay for now, where I'll roll out a very thin sheet of clay, which I'll use to make some ripped pieces of fabric, representing the remains of his once shirt, which apparently he must have ripped off of his chest in a wave of anger. But since he still can't quite let go of them, he holds them in his hands. Gotcha. So I guess we're making the head now, which starts out as a bean-shaped aluminium foil, which will then get covered in some clay, onto which I'll then start to put on some facial features. And since some might argue that his body looks more like the Hulk, I'll try to make his face look more like Homer, yet still trying to make it look aggressive and frightening. And since he's screaming at the top of his lungs, I'll have to make his tongue and teeth exposed, covering them in a circular worm of clay, working as his lips. Finally, I'll add 2 balls on each side of the head, forming them till they look like 2 ears. And with the yelling head complete, I can connect him to the rest of the body. And by making some sticky cast clay traps, I made sure my head won't fall off. I then added some more details around his neck, as well as his Adam's apple. And with that, the sculpting is finally finished, which now means I can paint my 2 pieces separately. Starting out by covering his 2 legs in some nice green paint. But I made sure to get some yellow in the mix, so the already completely overshadowed Homer aspect of the sculpture wouldn't go completely unnoticed. And the tremendous amount of green paint I'm using here will definitely cut away some of the possible food expenses for the next few weeks. But I guess you have to get your priorities straight. And after completely running out of green paint, I'll paint his eyes white. I'll use a slightly more dirty white as a nail polish to paint his nails. Next up, I'll paint his pants by giving him a blue once over. And it seems like he's still stuck in 2016, which is why I'll give him some ripped jeans. Moving on to his mouth, where I'll start by painting the inside red, topping it with some pink. And while painting his teeth, I realized what a dentist has to deal with every single day. So go brush your teeth, kids. Now we're already on the final touches, where I'll apply a dark green wash all over his body, making sure to cover all the cracks and crevices to make the muscles pop more. I'll then grab a sponge to add some more bright highlights, dry brushing my way all over his upper body, as well as his lower half, highlighting the quads and calves. And with the painting done, the only thing that's left to do then is to glue the 2 pieces together. And that's this monstrosity of a Hulk and Homer combination done. Thank you guys for watching. I have to say I had a lot of fun going all out on a sculpture, and this one is without a doubt the biggest in my collection. So let me know down below which other crazy character combinations you want to see next, as well as how we should name this new created monster. That's gonna be a wrap, and as always, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see y'all in the next one. And I love y'all, bye.